There we are.
Hello.
So this is Patrick Killian, who is an artist, professional artist, and we're going to talk today about mindset, what it takes to set up on your own. How long have you been doing this for now?
Well, I left uni in '95, so I sort of started in '95, but it didn't. I then found it difficult at the time to sort of solely just make a living from painting, and I did sort of work. I did some part-time work, but when I did that, Ella, what I did do was made sure that I did something I enjoyed.
Yes.
So at the time I thought, well, what else do I enjoy doing? And I enjoyed working with youngsters and kids because of the boxing gym, because I used to coach the kids, and obviously the kids used to confide in me when I was boxing. And
Because
I found
you
that
for Wales, didn't you?
yeah, but local club. So I found that what I decided to do was to work with young children. But then that then led on to working as a youth and community worker with young offenders. But then, and it was a job I really enjoyed. But then I always wanted to be a full-time artist, and I was made redundant around 2009, which was great. It was the thing I needed. It was the kick up the butt I needed to sort of solely go into that. But that was a difficult time because it's the mindset, as we were, it's the mindset of how do I go about becoming a full-time artist when all of a sudden I had this full-time wage coming in, and that's gonna disappear. Luckily for me, prior to becoming made redundant, I was earning fairly good money from my artwork, as well as my full-time career.
So where were you selling your artwork at that time?
Well, what I decided to do was when I was working in the school full-time, and I would actually exhibit most weekends at professional boxing shows. To be honest, Stella, any opportunity that came along, I thought that would be quite good to show my work. I would look at that. Those things developed as I went on, if there was first year I was doing a lot of amateur boxing shows, exhibiting at those, and then it developed into professional boxing shows. So I would just call the promoter up and say, look, can I come along and exhibit? Blah blah. 9 times out of 10 they would say yes.
Really?
Yeah. So, and that was then brilliant saying, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yes.
Very, very true. And I mean, so that's where, anyway, it was made redundant then in 2009. And what it, as I said, the difficulty of having a regular income to having an income from myself, whatever I could earn. And I think I knew I could do it. That mental, I knew I could do it, or I had the push to go for it. But an interesting thing, Ella, was my dad. My dad did say to me, he said, because my dad was quite positive in that sense, and he said, well, just give it a go. You've got nothing to lose, and if it doesn't work out, you know what you've got to do. Get another job. But the funny thing, I did apply for a job, didn't get it, working with youngsters, but he was working with children with cancer. And I got the interview, and what I would have been doing was building their self-esteem up, just as a youth worker, and building them up as going through this difficult time. I had the interview, but I didn't get the job, luckily, because if I did get a job, I probably might have just give it a go. The funny thing was, I said about my dad saying that, give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. You've always sold your work. Go for it. The other, I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but what I found interesting was my mother's response. Now, my mother, as a mother, said to me, "Oh, why didn't you get a proper job? Why didn't you earn that money?" And I found that interesting because she didn't say it out of not thinking that I could do it, as a mother's love, wanting her son not to have to struggle in any way. And I found that really interesting, where my father was on the other side of it. He was like, give it a shot, give it a go. Whether my mother, she's different now, because I told her off a few times about it, and I said, look, don't, support me in this. And I think she could see then, when I started telling her, how things are going, I think she was happy.
What's interesting about that is that's a mindset around money and about, it's not looking at success and the long-term approach, it's looking at the instant hit. So it's the same with a lot of things, isn't it? Whether it be money or food or whatever it is, that I must have food in the cupboard for a rainy day. Like we saw with the panic buying at the beginning of this virus.
Yeah.
I must have all the food just in case. I must have a job just in case. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's that panic. Rather than
That's a very interesting thing you say, because I can remember initially starting out, like not starting out, but doing it as a full time. That panic thing was quite interesting, because I used to think to myself, if I can just get this much, pay my bills. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think like that at all now. It's an interesting thing there.
What's changed that? What is it? Is it success that's changed that, or have you worked on that mindset?
I think partly both. Unconsciously, I stopped thinking of it, because I knew it was a very strange thing, really, where you think, oh, your mortgage, your bills, you've got to make this much. And the funny thing was, Ella, my bills, my mortgage, I would more or less make enough,
Yeah.
because I was so thinking about that.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I don't know, I then became, I don't know when the change was, but I started to think, well, I don't want to earn that. I want to earn this much. So I changed the mindset in a sense, maybe.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we talked about before the negative bias of thinking, didn't we? And how thinking in terms of what you wouldn't want to happen, and then going from there and think, well, if I don't want this to happen, what do I want to happen? So for you obviously decided at some point that you did not want to now just make enough money to exist. You made the decision that you wanted to make more. So you use that negative experience to be able to say, actually, I want to take it to the next level. And it's not negative to be able to exist and pay your mortgage. It's not negative, but it certainly wasn't what you wanted for yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are now. So,
and the interesting thing is, as well, I spoke to somebody about this earlier, that it actually was a conscious decision, Ella. Honestly, I made a conscious decision at one point. I was in my studio and I thought, well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna exhibit at specific events. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I did make a decision. I did.
Yeah. And that's so key. You have to make a decision. You have to make a choice.
It's a brilliant. Sorry, I don't know if you've seen. There's a brilliant 5-minute clip. It's probably more than 5 minutes. Will Smith.
Yes.
Will Smith says exactly that.
Yeah.
You decide, you make a decision, and do it.
Yeah.
I don't mean it to sound as miraculously as that, because it's not a miracle, but there's definitely a mindset, a thing, and writing things down. Ella, I've wrote a lot of things down.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken about this in many other videos about the encoding process. So the way the brain works is like an encoding process through your hands all the way up into the hippocampus in the brain. And when you have a certain movement and you make a certain effort to do something, your brain stores it. So when you write things down, your memory responds more to the action than to just think it, or to, typing's not as effective. And I don't know if that's because you're not holding something. In clinical hypnotherapy, we use the term anchoring. So, for example, if someone wants to change something, like let's say they've got a phobia of spiders, and you want to replace the feeling of phobia with the feeling of something they associate to being positive, you get them to maybe pinch their finger and forethumb, forethumb and finger, no, thumb and forefinger together to create the anchor. So the physical action of doing that is what makes.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that about the spiders thing, because you know the big spiders like how you get in your house sometimes, and I mean the big ones.
Yeah.
I don't like spiders. I can't stand it.
I love them.
I conquered my fear. I just picked them up. I just grabbed the damn thing. I didn't like it, and I threw it at the door. But they're not good. But also, those big spiders, if you grab a leg, they just they literally just freeze. And I don't want to. If they start running, man, I'd probably shit myself.
But it's because you're massive. Like you're a
huge.
Yeah,
exactly. I think stay in it, you know. Yeah.
Well, this thing with phobias, it's about reframing the way that you see the spider, because so many people see the spider as dangerous, and when you put it into perspective, you're so much bigger and so much scarier to the spider than the spider can ever be to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are spiders in different countries that can do a lot of harm, but the ones here, I always try and think of them as lost little spiders, lost their families, and I try and treat them like that. So it's how you frame things in your head, and that's what the mindset thing's all about, isn't it? It's like, if you believe that you can do something, you're going to do it, because your brain will be biased towards that thing. So it will see the opportunities, it will see the opportunity to connect with people that can help you. Because one of the things that you do is you exhibit your work in Las Vegas, don't you? And places where there's big fights. We're talking about. So for people that don't know, you've had your work signed by the biggest of the big, really, haven't you? Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I travel, and but again, that was a conscious decision as well.
How does that come about? How does it come about where you've got this painting of Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson, the legend, comes over to you and signs, and you know?
It's happened a few times regards to like going to various events, but again, going to talking to the promoters and exhibiting, asking them if I can exhibit the work and stuff. But the most recent one was going over to Vegas, and I saw an opportunity there, and I discussed with the people that if I could actually do a live piece.
Yeah.
And they were keen on that. But again, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I had to take that, initiative there. But it wasn't as simple as that, because then you've got to create the piece and just take action and do it,
So what at what point, I suppose, before internet, because you obviously left uni and did a lot of shows and amateur boxing shows and stuff, it gets to a point where you've got to have some bravery to hear, you've got to be prepared to hear the no's. So you've got to have the courage to be not back. In fact, I spoke about this earlier, how the ego stops us, because we don't want to hear a no, we don't want to be disliked, we don't want to be judged, we don't want to be compared, so we don't do the thing that we're afraid of. And when you just take that one small step to pick up the phone and contact the promoter, if you get a no, you get a no. You've lost nothing, have you?
You'd be surprised how many people are like, simple things, I think, that they don't do because out of that, because it's that thing in our minds tells us that, was the fight or flight thing, tells us takes the easiest route.
Yeah, because we don't want the threat.
Yeah, but
how do you get that?
I think that's maybe from the boxing side of it, because I was talking to someone recently about that, and taking a loss or taking, and that's something that I did, it and you've got to, and then come back from it.
Yeah.
Whether that must have helped me some way. Boxing has certainly helped me in some way. Boxing has helped me with, being able to just keep going, and you know what I mean? Definitely.
I mean, behind you there, that's the Tyson Fury painting, isn't it? Behind your head.
Yeah, it's not finished yet. I'm still working on that piece. But he's a brilliant guy to, his mindset.
That's why I bring him up, because you're talking there about how boxing's really helped you. Now, the thing that everyone taught us, I mentioned this to you earlier before we started to record, but the thing that everyone talks about is mental health. And the thing that I like to bring into it, and sort of forget the health word a minute and focus on mental resilience and mental strength. Boxing has got to be one of the best sports for building resilience and strength, because you're constantly facing threat, aren't you? I know you get accustomed to it, and your body gets used to it, but you still have to be prepared to literally take that hit. And I know for me, I mean, I broke my leg badly when I was a kid. Obviously, I've given birth and I did it without any pain relief, and I've had lots of injuries over the years, a lot. And I know each time I've done that, I've always said to myself, oh, I can use this to remind me next time that I'm going to be okay. So it's that, and I'm sure boxers must do that. You go through a lot of physical pain, you have to go through a lot of mental and physical barriers. So when it comes to something like making a phone call, that must feel reasonably easy in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. If I can walk, if you can walk to a ring, I only did amateur, but still, to walk to the ring and to have that adrenaline, but the adrenaline and the fear.
Yeah.
There's the fear of losing. It's just the fear of losing being knocked out or being ridiculed in front of friends and family. I think that's the fear of that, It's not the fear of getting hurt, and because you don't feel that with the adrenaline. It's the fear of the other side of it. And if you can do that, then why shouldn't I be able to do anything?
But
the problem is,
that's what visualize that as well. We were talking about that negative.
And we talk about the visual. Don't get me wrong. Without the doubt, if I'm fighting a person, that I'm going to bed at night and I'm thinking of, what I'm going to do, and I'm visualizing. All the sports people do that.
Yeah.
They visualize what they're doing. They visualize it, and they visualize being raised the champion, having their hands raised, and
Do you also visualize losing to stop yourself from losing, or do you not let yourself go there?
I don't think you can help it. You can't help that.
Yeah.
You can't help that, but you don't want that to happen, so you switch it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And that's why we can use negative visualization. Because a lot of people, I said this earlier as well, a lot of people don't have a positive mindset. And actually, they're still very successful because they've used their negative of, I don't want to lose that deal, or I don't want to lose that fight, as a way of pushing them forward. It's visualizing the ridicule, and it's visualizing that judgment that makes you go, no way do I want that to happen. And that can be enough, sometimes more than visualizing the positive outcome for some people.
Yeah.
So do you do that a little bit with this kind of work as well?
Without a doubt, because it's funny you should say that. When we're talking about the Mike Tyson recently in February doing the live, because I knew Mike was coming. He was going to walk past me to go to the and the actual funny thing is about the mind, you do think of the worst.
Yeah.
Mike is volatile, or used to be. He's better now, right? I probably did think, is he going to punch the damn canvas, or is he going to do something, And then you switch it and think, no, he's going to walk past, he's going to love it, he's going to shake my hand, and he did exactly that. He walks past, he goes, wow, that's my first fight. Who did this? And I'm going, Mike, it's me. I'm with a paintbrush in my hand, and he sort of gives me a fist bump, crushes my hand, and but that's a really great part for me, because I know that he likes it, so then it gives me a more of a sort of continue painting it, and gives me a good vibe on it.
But did he remember you from the previous time?
Probably, because I met Mike a few times. Yeah. So when I saw him, about when he signed a few things for me then, and I mentioned it to him, and he said, yeah, I remember. So,
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Remembered as well.
Yeah.
Because you think of the amount of people that he meets.
True. But
did you think as a little boy that you would ever, and this is the important part of this conversation, because I think if anyone watches this and thinks, actually, I've got a little bit of a dream, and I never believed it was possible, I just put it to the side. when you were a little boy, you were obviously interested in sports and boxing. Did you ever imagine for 1 minute that you would be there with arguably the greatest boxer of all time, depending on which way you flow, signing your work of him?
I never thought that it wouldn't happen. I never thought that it couldn't happen.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
I mean, why wouldn't I? Because there's just opportunities.
Yeah.
There's.
So that's how you think. You think in terms of opportunities rather than things that can't happen.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think of. I always look for it as well, and I think maybe because it's always in my mind, I see a lot all the time, even like going through Facebook and stuff. I see opportunities all the time.
Yeah.
But then it's taken a. I'll give an example about that opportunities thing, and this is quite an interesting one. Tyson was here in the UK years back. He's not allowed at the moment, but when he was allowed into the UK, and so I was doing a lot of paintings. At the time, I was doing a few of Tyson versus Muhammad Ali, because and the winning bidder was going to be the referee, because I felt that it was Tyson was over, and that's the fantasy fight everybody would have loved to see. So with that, I'm looking at reference online, trying to find these different pictures of Ali and Tyson together where I could put them in a fight. And I had already done 2 events, I think, and these were selling at a few thousand at the time. And all of a sudden, through looking for this reference, I came across Fantasy Celebrity Fight Night in Phoenix, Arizona, 2010. Well, as soon as I saw it, I just thought, wow. I emailed the CEO of the company straight away. Within half an hour, he phoned me up. He said, "This is fantastic. We wanted to come over and do a painting. We talked a little bit about the idea and stuff." He said, "This is fantastic. I want to fly you over to get a painting signed there by Tyson and fly over to Phoenix, Arizona, and we'll get Ali to sign it and we'll auction it."
Wow.
I mean, and that's from just taking those opportunities, just.
That's inspiring stuff there.
Yeah, it that, and to think that just from a phone call or an email. It was an email, sorry, not a phone call. But then that led to something.
I mean, that's got to be a dream come true.
Preparation plus opportunity equals luck. I love that.
Yeah, that is a very good. And I love that, because so many people that have got more of a sort of it always happens to someone else kind of mentality don't realise that it can happen for you. Whatever you want, preparation.
Well, I love it, because every time I think I've been lucky, honestly, every time I've been lucky with something, it was because I prepared.
Yeah.
It was the preparation and the opportunity that created the luck.
Yes.
I wasn't just lucky, because sometimes people say to you all the time, don't they? Oh, you were so lucky you can do that, or you do that. And I think to myself, you've got to. Well, it ain't really luck.
No, it's not lucky at all, because first of all, you work really hard at what you do. I mean, some people might not think of painting as hard, but for you to be able to, I mean, that one behind you, that one in front of you, all of them that I've ever seen, for you to be able to create that, and to be the energy that it must take to get it right as well, because it's not just a case of drawing a picture and colouring it in. You've got to keep going back to it, and you might not like it, and you might have to spend a lot of time. How do I make this better? How do I make those eyes look better? It takes a lot of detail, a lot of concentration.
Well, I think of it now, Alan, as a jigsaw. A lot of the times I think of it, and it will eventually. I know it'll eventually work out.
Yeah, it's incredible, especially for people that don't have that an innate ability. And I know you probably think that everybody can create something because that's what you do, but it is a difference.
I do take it for granted. Some people say to me, wow, I just can't understand how you can create that colour. And it's interesting to hear that aspect of people saying that, or I don't understand where you place it, how you get mix the colour and place it in a certain place to be able to create it. But it is a natural, or something that has become very basic for me, as in naturals.
I find really incredible is that obviously one of your loves was boxing, and then you've become so good at painting boxes, and the way that you create the movement and the way that you create the details, to be able to marry those two things together must be just lovely.
It's a bit different. It's a bit different, I suppose. It is lovely. It is. I feel blessed in what I do a lot.
Yeah. But like you said,
it's been a long journey, and it's still ongoing. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but again, going back to the mindset, constantly trying to new ways of pushing it and doing different things.
So do you have things in your mind now? Because one of the things that I hear people say is don't tell anyone what your plans are, because then when you fail they won't know. I'm the opposite. If I'm going to do something, I have to say it out loud. I make sure I say it out loud. I put it out there so that I have to then do it. There's no way you can avoid it.
I'm always thinking of different things to do. I wouldn't say I've got anything in my of new paintings as such. Obviously I want to finish that one behind me of the victory, but I planned that out as it was going on, as it happened. As in coming into the ring on the throne as a king already, I just knew that I had to capture that, so that was already in my mind. Before he even got the victory, I thought if he gets the victory, it's going to be even beautiful, because I knew that was the plan anyway. It's obviously it's opposite on the camera, obviously.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I've got different. I'm always thinking I want to do this. I want to do a lot more time lapse videos for YouTube. I want to do a lot more stuff. There never seems enough time though in the day, really.
And has that become a big part of it for you, the whole social media side of it as well?
Well, I enjoy it as well, because it takes me away from the painting side. Although I do enjoy this bit as well, and this is part of the time lapse stuff, doing these, and then actually creating them then and doing the editing and stuff. I do enjoy that, and seeing it come to life. Seeing the time lapse work, and so it's all part of the work, But then I said to you before, Ella, sometimes I get annoyed with myself because I'm not painting as much. But then, I do the other because I want to do it and I want to show it on social media, and that is part of my work. But sometimes if I'm not painting.
So for someone, not necessarily an artist, but for someone who's got an idea of what they want to do, maybe they're a bit scared to go for it. You mentioned preparation and opportunity, but what's the other thing? Because obviously there's got to be a certain amount of belief. Where did you find that belief from? Was it your dad saying that you should do it? Was it just something that you'd seen growing up? What's the thing that gave you that bit of a push?
To do what I do, as in or to just become a professional artist?
Yeah, because obviously there was the aspect of losing the job, and then your dad saying to you, go for it. But there must have been something innately within you, because you mentioned before about.
Well, I knew that I could. I knew I could, because I'd always sold my work even before being made redundant from that full-time job. I knew I could sell my work. Could I sell enough to make a living? That's the difference becoming self-employed, because it wasn't the case of come to me. I had to look for it,
Yes.
So what I would actually do when I was made redundant initially, I was looking for places I could exhibit. I was typing into the Google an evening with. I was typing in. Do you know what I mean? I was typing in And this
Yeah.
is interesting because I was talking to an artist the other day on my live on Instagram, and we were chatting about different stuff, and he done a painting of I think it was his partner. He done a painting of his and she was doing some yoga, I think it was yoga. And I said to him, I said, so why don't you take that painting into the yoga, ask your friend's partner, blah blah blah, if you can do that painting in that yoga studio.
Yes, yeah.
And I said, why don't you do that? Why didn't you ask that person if you could do it? He said, oh, I never thought of that. I said, well, I said, nothing might come out of it at all. But one of those people in that yoga thing might say to you, well, that's nice. Can you do this?
Correct.
So it could happen.
Yeah.
And I did that a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And I think you have to think outside the box a lot.
Yes.
With different things. Think outside the box. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's 5 rules, or the particular one which I liked, and one of them was break the rules.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, there's a lot of things I particularly use. I don't use galleries a lot, but I'm making a living.
Yeah.
Selling my work. But I also, man, I do feel that the artists now have become very much more with all the aspect of social media. It's become a lot easier now for artists to sell.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's still artists who are, you know, they don't want to put themselves out there, and they may be a little bit more. They'd rather put their work in a studio, in a gallery, and just let the gallery do the work for them and sell the work. I mean, I still do that, or still done it. But I mean, if I can sell it myself.
Well, you're saving a lot of money, aren't you?
Yeah. I'd rather do that. But you know, it has opened doors for a lot of people. The social media.
Oh, well, without doubt. And we hear so much bad about social media, but actually, when you have a big presence on social media, whether you get direct sales or not, it's people know of you, and when people know of you, they will find a way to get in touch, whether it's through social media, through email, through phone call. I think it's really important for any business, artists, therapists, whoever.
Yeah.
But it's got to have something about you, and I think what's good about your social media is that it's a real mixed bag. I think sometimes, unless you've got like a particular style of art and you're a particular style of person, I actually think with what you do, you show a lot of your personality as well. And I think I think people get to know you a little bit, and I think that's a unique selling point, because as we said before, it's such a magical thing for you to even be here, because of the chances of you being born were so ridiculously low. The fact that you're here, and then people get to see that unique side of your personality. I mean, you know, I think it adds to you as an artist.
Well, I love that aspect of, like you said, being an artist. People can see me, and can you imagine if Instagram and YouTube and everything was around when Van Gogh was alive?
There you go.
I mean, the guy sold 3 paintings in his life by all accounts, and you know what happened since he's passed away. I mean, the guy is like, it's just unbelievable what's happened with his work. And it's so nice to be able to think that all this stuff that we produce and put on social media will actually exist when we die.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's and for those people who are, I was talking to a girl the other day, funny enough, she doesn't paint anymore, and I said, well, you know, it'd be nice to be able to, you know, leave a legacy of something, leave something behind, and you know, and I do think of it a lot now, you know, because, you know, I don't know, I might die tomorrow, and the fact that I've left something, I think it's quite nice, you know.
That's lovely.
Because people die and they don't leave anything. We don't even know, you know. That's it. They're gone. Nothing left. Nothing on anything.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, with stuff like this, you know, the stuff that you paint, there's a little bit of you in that, and that's special.
I like it. I like the my old trainer. Funny enough, he said to me, he said, Pat, he said, you will be remembered a long time after you've gone. And when he said that, I thought, oh, that's nice, you know. Not in a big-headed way, Ella. I don't mean that like in a like. I just think it is a nice thought
And
of
also,
leaving something behind, because we
and
all want to leave something.
this is why your personality is really important as well, because people will know not just the work that you did, but they'll be able to see a little bit of who you were as well. And that combination is quite nice, isn't it?
Well, I love actually, you know, this piece. I love being able to, especially if it's a canvas edition, which is, you know, I very often prefer to deliver it myself because I like to meet that person and go for a coffee, even lunch, and we have a chat and we get to know each other. And I think that's nice as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're very different in that way. It's nice to sort of see, because I think, and this is one of the reasons, again, I think it was important to do something like this and to have these sort of conversations. A lot of people think artists are, because they were previously, these sort of avant-garde figures that you never really got to know, but actually that's not the case. You can actually build relationships, and I know from being, you know, a therapist in the work that I do, is that people respond to people.
Right.
And so the fact that you get to know the people that you sell to means that they're going to like you, they're going to trust you, and they're probably going to buy something else. People buy from people. So that's why your personality is important.
Yeah, it's a good quote.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this. I think for people that have a little bit of a dream and then can sort of hear your story of some of the things that you've achieved, we've only really touched the surface, but I think it's important that, you know, especially young people, especially kids, because at the minute, with the way the schools are, for a lot of those that didn't get to take their GCSEs, that might have been relying on it, that have been told, you know, if you don't get these results, it's the end of the road and you'll be nothing in life. Actually, if you're good at something, you can make it happen. You just got to prepare and look for those opportunities.
You know, I was never academic in school. I was never, the only thing don't get me wrong, I did okay, but I mean, the thing I liked was art, you know?
Yeah.
And at the time when I was in school in 1991, I left. 1991, there was no, even physical education wasn't a GCSE then. I think it was a year later it became a GCSE. So 91 I left, you know, I had my art, and that was really my main thing. And, you know, so I went to do a general art and design. But it's interesting, you know, the reason I think I went to college because all my friends went to college.
Yeah.
I think if I think if I didn't have a good mix of friends, I probably might not have gone. You know, I went because I don't think it doesn't make much. You know, I wouldn't say that college, you know, give me an advantage over anybody because I would say that it gives out more. It give me just an understanding of a practice of different things, you know.
Yeah. But, you know, I think that the fact is, I mean, a lot of artists will say that university, particularly the degree, whether it's photography or art, actually can dampen their spirits a bit. But clearly for you, you carried on regardless, which is good. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when someone watches this, if they're just feeling a little bit like, I don't know how to make my dreams happen, I think you've given loads of good advice there. A few good little bits.
I appreciate it. And, you know, and anybody can contact me on anything. I often get emails from different people and more than willing to contact me. And
what's your Instagram handle again?
Killian, KILLIAN _ART.
So at Killian_art.
Yes. Yeah.
So they can contact you there. Mind you, follow each other for that. So what's your email address?
PatrickJKILLIAN @AOL.com. Patrick J. Killian @AOL.com. Got a professional one, but you're better off just send it to that.
So I'll add that to the description underneath, and then they can contact you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ella.
No, it's lovely to see you as always.
Yeah, we could. We often have our midnight chats.
We do because we're night owls. All the best people are.
Night owls. The owl catches the mouse, isn't it, or the rat? Bigger than a worm.
It's probably mouse. I don't think rat's very attractive.
Okay.
So I will no doubt see you on Instagram, which is our usual hideout, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Have a lovely evening.
And you. Thanks a lot.
Later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye. Should we switch off the record?